choice of darker, and I thought,
And I'm rolling.
All right, so
All
we have this
right.
on, this is very easy and fast too.
oh, good.
So I have this,
It's good. I like easy and fast.
so then we have it on tape, your first and your last name and the year that you were president.
Marilee Orsini, 1998, 1999.
And spell your last name for me.
Orsini, and Marilee's Merrily.
Very good. All right, so first of all, this is going to air in the 100th anniversary
Oh, fabulous.
Rotary video.
Yes. And
for
I
her-
didn't do anything when I was president, so,
You didn't do a thing? I don't think that's true.
except, be there, show up.
Now, I'm sure you did something. But in that one, what do you think it is that has, not many things last for a century?
I think it's why the
Yeah.
question is Rotary lasted as long and
Yeah.
been as popular as it is? A couple of things. One is the model, because networking, this is like the original networking. So, because when you get with people every week, and it's not like most organizations where you're meeting once a month or you're meeting every 4 months or something. So every week you get to know people. And then the fact that it's service-based, so you're not just getting to know people, but you're also doing something united with each other to help whatever cause that you're helping. And I think it's the combination of those two. And the original intent of Rotary also, with the exclusivity where you didn't have competitors, that was the other thing. When I came into the club, we were still in that mode, so you could only have one person from a particular industry. And I think they've changed that now, but that to me was an important component of it at that time. I don't think it's that important anymore, but it was important.
Well, it sounds like Rotary keeps changing through the years. One of the past presidents said that he was president the year they finally let women be a part of it.
Oh goodness, well, I came in not long after that, so.
And he said that was a good thing. He said it's good that it kept everything evolving and growing. And I mean, you and I obviously think it's a good thing.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, yes, I
That's a
think it's a
hard
very
question for
good
you to
thing.
answer.
But
I
it's a
mean-
very hard question, that's okay.
But what is it about the year that you were president? Besides the fact that you did nothing, but what will you remember that year for?
Do you know, I, as the first and only woman president of Rotary, I felt it was important to just to let people understand that working with a woman is not any different from working with a man. And I had a business focus, so we had our focus for programs the whole year was top business people, and we pulled in really top business people from around the country. And we did trips that involved business Rotary get-togethers. My favorite was UPS at midnight and doing the tour of the UPS facility. So really just the activity level was really business focused. I didn't want it to be frivolous. So, and then so that was really sort of my theme for the year. I was in between major projects, fortunately, so I didn't have to do a huge project for my year. So that was positive, which allowed me to do nothing, as I said. And the other thing is every past president, or every president, when they're elected, gets to go to some exotic place in the world. And I went to Indianapolis. Which is why I always said that's why they let me be president that year, because I got to go to Indianapolis instead of London or Rome or
Seoul, Korea.
yes, or
I
Seoul,
got to
Korea,
go to Seoul, Korea.
yeah. So, but Indianapolis, was fun, but it was Indianapolis. So
With the wallpaper behind you too, and when you said India, I thought
India? No, it was Indianapolis. And for my presidents, there's a meeting you go to also. I got to go to Toledo. So my two big cities were Toledo and Indianapolis. So, but it was, I had a good time.
I bet you have a good time no matter where you go.
Yes, I try to.
But so I guess the last question I have for you is Rotary. What is it that drew you to Rotary in the first place?
I had a friend who suggested that I belong. At the time, I was very active in the Chamber of Commerce, and I still own a business, but I owned a different business at that time. And I cannot answer this honestly. You can't roll the tape. I'll answer it, but then you can't use it. How about that? I have to come up with another answer. I had an elder care business. Now, if you've looked around at Rotary, it was perfect. And so it was really a business decision. It was that was my initial reason, was a business decision, because it really did position me in with a group of people that could use my services, number one. But what really happened was, and as a businesswoman, this was amazing. In Rotary, you have access to the top people in the community. So I would every week pick who I wanted to have lunch with, and I would pick Wilson Wyatt, I would pick Henry Heiser Sr., I would pick George Gill, and he hated women, so that was always a funny one. But I really got to know them, and they appreciated me, and I could call them anytime, and I ended up with really good business advice from some of the top business people in Louisville. And Rotary opened that door for me, and I couldn't have had that door opened otherwise. So it was really an amazing experience, which was not, I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't know that when I joined, but anyway, it was wonderful. It still is wonderful. It's, and I've traveled all over the world and visited Rotary clubs all over the world. So it's, it's always, I was in London at the Mayfair Club and had a girlfriend I was with in London at the time. We were going to theater, and so we went to the Rotary Club, and they stopped us at the door and said, "I'm sorry, we don't allow women in our club." And I said, "Well, we do in our club." And so we just went in. And turned out there was another woman that had come from Argentina, and at the end of the day, at the end of that Rotary meeting, they stood up and gave us a standing ovation, and right after that, they let women in the club.
Wow.
So I mean, that's a positive, negative experience, but
Yeah.
I've also been to, clubs in, I think it was Manchester, where all they did was drink at a pub and play pub games, and in Venice, where they had this fabulous meeting in the Daniele Hotel, and featured my husband and me. My husband's also a Rotarian. I met my husband at Rotary, so it's another fabulous story. So Rotary's done a lot for me.
Year that you were president,
Okay, Ray Schumann, 2000, 2001.
and spell Schumann for me.
SCHUHMANN.
So what is it that attracted you to Rotary in the beginning?
You know, I had no concept of Rotary, and a personal friend, David Ratterman, said, "I want you to come to a meeting. I think you should belong to this." And I had no concept, but David, just a great guy, and I trusted him, and I went to Rotary and thought, oh, this is really interesting. I didn't think I could make the time commitment, but David said, you can do it, you can do it. And it was right down on, I'm at Payne and Lexington Road in Distillery Commons. It was Jim Porter's. I thought, wow. It's only a block away. By the time I got in the club, it was down at the Brown Hotel, and there were parking issues and everything. But just the, it was a civic organization. I was doing a lot of little stuff, but not really connected with an organization that was truly civic-based.
And that's right. A lot of us want to give back
Right.
to the community in some way, but
Right.
on your own, it's kind of tough.
Right. And my mom and dad did it all through the church and one or two other things, but it was mostly through the church, and it was a daily thing for them, and it was an easy commitment for me to make.
So your year as president, when you look back at that, what are you most proud of, or what?
I guess I'm most proud of the fact that during my administration we raised the $250,000 for the hospital for Home of the Innocents. And it was a huge project. I mean, everybody was involved. We had all these extra committees, and we had all these people stepping up and just taking leadership positions, and it was a crazy year. And yet we met our goal by the hardest.
Very good.
But
All
that
right.
was a good year.
And my last question for you is, Rotary's been around for a century now, and a lot of things don't last that long. What do you think that there's so much longevity to this club?
I think it's the common purpose. You know, the fact that everybody joins, hopefully for the right reason and to give back. And there's just so many opportunities. And in a club like ours, you know, with 30-something committees, and every committee's got its own focus, you can find where you want to participate and make a difference. And by that participation, you do make a difference and you feel good about it.
Very good. That's what we needed.
Perfect.
Very interesting. Is
Yeah.
what the year that you were president, so if you need to figure that out.
Okay,
I am Boz Todd. I was president of Rotary of Louisville in 1999 to June of 2000.
Very good.
okay, now if you'll just look at Kirby.
Look at me.
Pay
Yeah.
attention, yeah, pay
Yeah.
no attention to me.
So
Yeah.
does he need to do that again, or is that
And
fine?
No,
Yeah.
that was good, I was.
Okay. So, your year as president, what stands out in your mind the most about that? What are you most proud of?
Well, the opportunity came up for us to build one of the cottages at the embryonic Home of the Innocents that was going to open up at the east end of town. And in an exciting news story that they had, because they had some government money, what they really needed was for someone or some institution to give them $250,000 to build a cottage where some of the students could live right there on the campus. And we were able to come up with that $250,000. So the Rotary Club of Louisville, in that time, that was a big chunk of activity for us as a small club to do. Thank God we had two key leadership investors to get this thing off the ground, Baylor Landrum and Henry Heiser, and they did. And that kicked it off with $100,000 combined from those two, plus the $150,000 that the club invested as a result of some activity and programs that we created that year. And that was fun. You know, it was fun. I was the beneficiary of the fact that I followed Marilee Orsini, who had done a lot to enhance the efficiency of our bookkeeping procedures, and followed by Ray Schumann, who had tremendous skills in the media to enhance our ability to use audio-visual activity to make our meetings more lively.
Oh, he did that, huh?
Yeah, sure did. It worked.
What is it about Rotary that attracted you?
Well, I joined Rotary, I guess in 98 or 90, in 68 or 69, I guess it was. And one of the first meetings I went to, they had this charming young lady as our speaker, and she had just won the America's Junior Miss Contest. I said, wow, this is an exciting club. What's her name? Her name was Diane Sawyer.
Oh,
I said, this is a lively club with a lot of interesting things going on. I'm going to enjoy this. And I had talked to a guy whom I'd known slightly in earlier years named Victor Gerard, who was an active Rotarian. He said, Boz, if you ever get a chance to join Rotary, you should. And I said, why? It's probably one of the few opportunities you would have in Louisville to have a window and perspective on the overall community. Why? Because of the weekly meetings where you have diverse people that you will meet who are members of the club or your speakers, an opportunity you will get to know in no other way the overall vibrancy of the town.
and that turned out to be true, didn't it? A lot of people with that.
Okay, straighten me up there. Should I unbutton it or?
No, you're good.
Okay,
Your bow tie was just a little cattywampus.
okay.
All right, I'm rolling,
Okay.
Kirby.
So
all right.
we have it on tape, your first and your last name and the year of your presidency.
I'm Mike Cool, and I was president in 2005 to 2006.
And Cool is spelled,
Kull.
all right, very good. That's the best last name ever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's worked well, except it's Cull wherever you go, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, all right, so you, well, let's start with first, what was it that attracted you to the Rotary in the first place?
I got involved in Rotary whenever Bill Bellis, a former president, called me up one day and said, someone in your company who's a Rotarian is getting out of Rotary, and I think from our business connections you would make a great Rotarian. I'd had a very brief experience with Rotary when I was in high school. Myself and 4 or 5 other people from my high school got sent up to Cincinnati one weekend to an international affairs conference put on by Rotary. And went up there, and when I came back in the 60s, went to a Methodist church down in the basement, 25 local businessmen, and I had to give a report on what it was like to go to Cincinnati. And so that was in the back of my mind of being involved in Rotary as a young person. And then when Bill came to me and said, you should consider joining, I was very happy to join. That's been about 30 years ago now.
Oh, yeah. So are there certain aspects of it that attracted you?
I think there's 2 or 3. In Louisville, one of the best things about Rotary is that it's the best weekly forum in Louisville. There are other people that do forums, but usually those forums are once a month. Rotary has 50 excellent speakers a year and a great luncheon with fellowship and camaraderie of 200 to 250 people. Then, as you get involved in Rotary, you realize how important a worldwide organization it is, how it's spread out across the entire globe, and how it, because there are Rotarians in 200 countries, that those Rotarians can get things done that many times you couldn't get done if you didn't know someone on the inside of the country. And so it's a give and take of people going across the globe, meeting each other, and learning more about what goes on in other countries of the world.
What does Rotary stand for? Why is that the name of this club?
Rotary really goes back to the founder, Paul Harris, in 1905. He created it in Chicago, Illinois. He had 3 other friends in Chicago, and he had this idea that they should get together once a week and talk business, but more importantly, just meet each other and talk. And so out of that came the concept that every week they met in one of the other person's business office in the beginning. And so the idea was they were rotating around, and so the name Rotary came out of that. And so I think one of the amazing things about Rotary is how quickly it grew worldwide. It started in 1905. The Louisville Club was formed in 1912 and was the 45th in the country. By, I believe, 1921, there were 1,000 clubs in the world. So in a day when there wasn't email, in a day when it was basically a letter written or a businessman going to another community on probably a train or traveling across the ocean on a steamship, that within about 16 years after it formed, there were over 1,000 clubs in the world.
That's amazing. That's a very interesting little history.
Yes.
So your year as president, what stands out in your mind about that?
Well, one of the things that's not directly connected with us in the Louisville Club was it was also the 100th anniversary of Rotary. And so Rotary threw a big celebration for their international convention in Chicago that year, and I was able to attend as our representative of that. So that was special because that was a really big event in Rotary's history, and Rotary out of that, even 20 years before that, it came up with their idea of Polio Plus, where they've attempted to remove polio from the face of the earth, and they're getting very, very close. So even though they weren't able to celebrate that in 2005, they had reduced the cases from like 350,000 a year down to something like less than 1,000 a year. So they made a big hit there. Here in the Louisville Club, it was a time, it's kind of almost a joke, but it was a time that everyone was talking about building bridges across the Ohio River. And so we had all sorts of speakers come in on the pros and the cons. And I find it interesting that here we are 6 years later, and we're getting ready, or 7 years later, and we're getting ready to turn some dirt on that subject. It was also the year of Hurricane Katrina, which Rotary, when you think of many times Rotary makes contributions around the world with the United States Rotarians. But it was a time when Rotary around the world turned to the United States and made a lot of contributions to help Rotarians in Louisiana and the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And so it was a time when things turned towards the United States instead of maybe towards the rest of the world. Within our club that year, we had a couple of successful events. 2 future presidents, John Bush, did a very excellent job of running our event with DePaul School called the Party for DePaul, and netted over $106,000 for scholarships there. And then Stetton, our president, he helped us encourage our members to give more to the Rotary International Foundation,
Right.
which does a lot of this work. Excuse me.
We had nobody strength that morning.
Well, good. But STET kind of awakened the idea of contributing worldwide to Rotary. And so that year we were able to triple our donations to the international causes from just the year before. And I think both of those were significant things during that year. We also joke about it, but we lived through the remodeling of the Galt House facilities, which if you weren't there for that was quite an experience during that year after Mr. Sneeder had passed away and his family decided to renovate the place.
Well, I didn't live through it, but I'm glad to
You
go
know
there
the
now.
before, yes.
Absolutely, but did you all keep meeting there?
Oh yeah, we kept meeting there. They just, like they do now, they move us around based on whatever conventions they have in town. But we're very fortunate to have them too as an organization that supports us.